Have you ever wondered if your horse needed shoes? Hi, I'm Kelly with Summit Riding Academy, and today we're going to discuss horseshoeing and the needs of different horses. So here is Lily, who's going to help me demonstrate today. She is 5 years old, and she has worn shoes since she was about 2. When Lily was 2, when she was a year old, she had very, very thin soles. So Lily has worn easy boots until she was 2, and then I put aluminum shoes on her so that the aluminum would not stress her joints at all because it's much lighter. And then she's worn shoes ever since then. So the only reasons I would ever put shoes on a horse is protection, traction, or correction. So protection, if you have a horse with thin soles like Lily here, then you're definitely going to need to put shoes on your horse. It's nothing to do with you riding them a lot or anything like that. It just is the fact that they just have thin soles. And I can show you a little bit on Lily if she will allow me to. So Lily here, let's see if I can show you, has very thin soles. I don't know if you can see when I push on it, you can see that flex a little bit. So these soles she inherited from her mother are not the greatest. I've done some things to help build them back up. She takes supplements. We try to put stuff on them. Hoof hardener works pretty well. But Lily just is a horse that has thin soles, so she will need shoes probably her entire life. And when you have shoes done, when they're first done, they should look perfect. So the angle of the pastern should match the angle of the hoof. So Lily is not actually perfectly done right now because she's due to be shod on Friday, which is in 2 days. But if you look here, you can see that her feet aren't terrible. Her toes are a little bit longer than I would like to see. But you can see the pastern is not too far away from the angle of the hoof. You can see if we brought a line down here, that would be a little bit better of an angle, and that's probably what the farrier will do. They probably cut off about that much of her foot. So if you look closely, you can see these nail holes are starting to come off. This is an indication that she needs her feet done. So you can see these nail holes are kind of not great. It's been very dry here lately, so I'm not surprised to see that her feet are kind of in need of some love. But he'll be here on Friday and he'll take care of all that for me. I also keep bell boots on her at all times. So she wears these all the time. You pull them on and they can't step on themselves or pull these shoes off. These are kind of a heavy duty bell boot. You can see how thick they are. But she steps on her feet pretty much all the time. So she wears those to help keep her from hurting herself. So that's the reason I have shoes on her. I don't have shoes on her back feet. And you can see there's some breakage on her back feet a little bit here. That's really nothing to worry about. Unless your horse's feet are breaking off like in huge chunks and it's compromising the integrity of the balance of the foot, that's not anything you need to worry about. So don't think that you need to put shoes on your horse just because their feet are breaking up. That's completely natural. It's not a big deal. If you think that it's causing your horse to be lame, then that's another story. Then you definitely are going to need to put shoes on your horse. But if they're just breaking up and you're close to the shoeing cycle anyway, just don't worry about it. If they need to be trimmed, your farrier will trim that up. So the next reason that you would put shoes on a horse is correction. So Lily here, when she was about 1.5 years, 2 years old, she got white line disease pretty bad. Her hoof had to be resected all the way up to almost her coronary band. Lily's pretty unique. And she had to wear bar shoes at that time. So that's a shoe that has a bar across the heel. If you look at these shoes, you can see this shoe is open in the back, so that allows the hoof to expand a little bit. Usually when the horse walks at that heel ball, right where the frog is and it comes to the heel, that heel can always expand. So a shoe that's open like this, so it's going to expand right here as they walk, and the frog is what helps keep the blood flowing through their foot. So you want to keep this hitting the ground as much as you can. The shoe is going to bring it up off the ground, so that's a little bit abnormal. A lot of people think that, barefoot is the best way to go, and it would be if we weren't asking them to do things like jump and dressage and be athletes. So the way the shoe has been for hundreds and almost thousands of years is perfectly acceptable. it allows the heel bulb to still stretch a little bit. But a bar shoe would go flat across that heel, and that helps support the structure of the foot a little bit more and allow the foot to heel. There's also, if your horse has navicular, which I'll talk about in a different video, your farrier will do things like lift the heel, so you're bringing less weight off the back of the foot. There's things called an egg shoe, which has a circle around the back. There's different reasons for using that. There's all sorts of things that your farrier can do. There's glue-on shoes that, you know, helps your horse build its foot back. So don't be afraid of shoes, but don't use them excessively. I do recommend shoes for any horse that needs, like Lily has bad feet and needs a shoe to help them be sound, or a horse that needs correction. The other reason, and the only other reason I would put shoes on a horse, is traction. So if your horse is slipping, I had a horse that would slip out behind when he would try to turn, when he would try to do his work. So I put shoes on him because he was not able to keep his traction around the ring. If you're out doing cross country in a big open field and you need studs, so you screw these little metal things into the end of the shoe, they're called studs, and you need those so that you don't die when you're out doing cross country. If you're riding on roads, you typically are going to need a little bit of a stud so that you don't slide around. It's usually not much that they put on the shoe, but it's kind of a little tiny thing on the bank that gives the horse some traction. And then if you're in the snow, you can put what's called an ice cock. So they put kind of little spikes on the shoe. You can use a little tiny thing on the back to help them from slipping, but it just keeps the horse from sliding all over the place. So those are the 3 reasons that you should ever put shoes on. Otherwise, you're probably good going barefoot. If your horse shows any signs of lameness, then you'll have to worry about shoes. But for the most part, if a horse has good feet, the best thing to do is let him be barefoot, because the horse's foot can actually pump more blood and take care of itself better without a shoe. So I do recommend that you try your best to keep them barefoot, but do not be afraid to put a shoe on just because it seems like it's mean. It's not mean. We're asking them to do things that are not natural. So don't be afraid of feeding them like in a non-natural way. You're going to have to give them hay and grain. And don't be afraid to put a shoe on, because that's unfortunately or fortunately the way things are. So a lot of people recommend boots. I am totally fine with boots if the horse needs boots. I had a horse that would be more lame with a shoe on than he was barefoot, and that horse, I would leave the shoes off, and if he needed to go somewhere with a lot of rocks, I'd put boots on him. Otherwise, honestly, it's just a lot easier on you and the horse to just put the shoes on and let the shoes be. But because that constriction with the metal does not allow expansion, then you have to just be careful, watch your horse, see what they need, and do the best by them. That's pretty much all we can do. So I'll see you next time. Have a great day.